Awesome, and we're live. Hello, welcome. Happy Wednesday. I cannot believe it is already Wednesday. I feel like we were just on the airwaves. Time flies when you are building stuff quickly. Just want to do a little quick uh, state of the live stream. If this is your first live stream with us, welcome. We do these every Wednesday. We are working with Pika on the integration series every Wednesday at 12 Pacific, so this time. We are mainly active on YouTube, our YouTube channel. We're currently streaming to LinkedIn and X as well, but our chat is the busiest on YouTube. That's at bolt.new on YouTube. Please put your questions in the chat. We will be answering those throughout the stream. This will also be recorded. So if you only have, 30-minute lunch break, we're going over, you can definitely catch this. It'll be on our YouTube page as well. So that same at bolt.new. Christine, I'm also in Oregon. Hello from Oregon. Throw in the chat where you're joining from. And we'll be popping links in the chat as well for all the resources that we will be sharing throughout the call. Okay, to get started, let's do a quick round of intros. Just this is everyone's first live stream. So I'm Kate. I'm a marketing manager here at Bolt. Let's see, Mo, you want to go next?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Mo, founder and CEO of Pika.
Awesome. Paul.
Hey everyone, I'm Paul, founding engineer here at Pika.
Awesome. And I'm Alex, Chief Operating Officer here at Bolt. And before we dive into the meat and potatoes, I want to do a quick recap kind of on last week and set the context for what we're going to do today. So we're here with our partners from Pika, and fundamentally, they make integrations very easy. So if you want to build more capable apps that touch other systems and pull in real live data and interact with other systems and tools, Pika makes that incredibly easy, especially in the sort of vibe coding or AI assisted product development process. And they'll talk a lot more about how that works and everything you can do with that later. So what we did last time and what we're going to continue today is we're envisioning a scenario where you want to make a fintech app, a financial technology app. And in order for that app to be useful for your users, they are going to need to be able to connect that to their financial systems and import their financial transactions and maybe take actions on different transactions, invoices, accounts, etc., in their financial system. So the most common financial system for small and medium businesses is QuickBooks. People use it to track their operating expenses, their revenue, pay their bills, and collect money that's owed to them via invoicing. So we're using that as an example. The beauty of Pika is it's very easy to take an integration with QuickBooks and apply that to, let's say, Xero. If you use that for your or your customers are using that for their financial system. So today we're going to continue where we left off, and Paul will be guiding us through that. But just wanted to set that context for everybody. There was some confusion last time because there's financial tools in the thumbnail that this is about how to collect payments from your users. That is not what this is about. That only takes 2 clicks. You just if you're in Bolt, just click integrations and click collect payments and you'll be done with that. But this is for building financial technology apps. So looking forward to continuing the project. And I guess I don't know if Mo or Paul is going to take it from here.
This was awesome. Thank you, Alex. I'll very quickly just talk very briefly for those who don't know a little more about Pika, and then I'll pass it to Paul so that he can show us the fantastic application that he is building. So very quickly, touching base on Pika. Pika is a platform that helps you with the integrations. You can think of it like your senior integration engineer. Obviously, it's a SaaS, not an actual human, but it knows everything to do with the integrations. It's capable to communicating with integrations, meaning, like you can use, like, and you will see today in the playground, you could chat with the integrations, and you can also build apps that communicate with these integrations. But what's really interesting about what Pika can also do is it gives you this capability to enable authentication for your users, which means you could allow your users to connect to their integrations, which we usually call the second-degree users, which is what the application that Paul built last time was talking about and working on, and he'll continue on that. And I'll pass it to you, Paul, and let's start having some fun.
That's perfect. Yeah, Alex and Mo, you guys did all the recapping and explanation needed, so you've made my life easier here, and I will just jump into it. Let me know if my screen is visible here.
Visible.
Visible. Okay, perfect. So yeah, we know what Pika is now, and we know what we were building last week. I will showcase again. So the build we had was essentially this finance dashboard. And what we were trying to do is we were trying to make it so that we could allow the users of our app to be able to connect their integrations. So last week we did it for both QuickBooks and we did it for Stripe. And we're going to drill a little further into QuickBooks today. So essentially, this is using one of the core products of Pika called AuthKit. So if you're in the Pika dashboard and you wanted to add a connection, you would click on the Add Connection button here, and it pops open this component. So this component is what's called AuthKit. It allows you to create an interface for somebody to connect their integration. So this is a component you can install within your Bolt app. So we do have the video from before where you can see it. But just really quick, if you did want to bring AuthKit into your Bolt app, you can head into BuildKit, and there's a button here that's called Copy AuthKit Prompt. So you could just take that and you could paste that into your Bolt app, and it would give you the functionality needed to be able to have AuthKit directly in your app. So last week we connected it, and if I were to click on something here, I can see that AuthKit pops open, and here it's asking me to connect my QuickBooks account. And the same thing for Stripe. We configured both of those. And we can see there's a check mark here. That's because we have two connections that we already connected last week. Those are tied to the logged in user right now. So I've logged into my app under Paul KR. And these connections that have been added to the Pika dashboard are scoped to my user. So what we did from there is after we had those integrations connected, we had all the customers from both of those displayed inside a table here. So we were basically using BuildKit to figure out how can I grab my customers from QuickBooks, grab my customers from Stripe, and list them in this dashboard. So again, this is different than what we did before, where I would just go and connect my QuickBooks account and list my customers. Here, I'm allowing the users of the app I built in Bolt to connect their QuickBooks account and list their customers. So I can do a lot of stuff with that. And we're going to dive a little deeper now into invoices. And I've kept this sort of open. So Alex, Mo, Kate, we can all kind of direct this. And even in the chat, if you guys want to try something, feel free to voice it out. And again, put yourself in the mindset that I am now working with the data of the user of my Bolt app. So my users. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to extend the functionality where if I click on a given user in my QuickBooks, I would be able to go in and see all of their invoices. So what I'm going to do here just to start off, since we're focusing on QuickBooks this time, I'm actually going to go into Pika and I'm going to delete my Stripe connection since we're not really dealing with that too much. And there we go. So now it's just going to show us our QuickBooks customers. So the way we do this for those who are joining us for the first time or have been here is through BuildKit. BuildKit is the feature inside Pika that gives you prompts you need to go copy and paste into Bolt. Before we do that, what I want to do is I want to go into my connected integrations and I want to head into the playground. So when Mo was explaining what Pika was earlier, he said you can think of Pika as your senior integration engineer. The playground is a good place to test that out. So if I wanted to figure out what I can do with an integration, or what kind of data does QuickBooks give me when I'm dealing with invoices, or if I just wanted to see what's in my data, or if I wanted to create an invoice or create a customer, you can essentially talk to your universe of integrations through the playground here. So I'm going to try that right now. I've only got one QuickBooks connected, so I'm going to say list my QuickBooks invoices, just to make sure that everything with our connection is looking good and QuickBooks actually does return invoice data. So very nice. It just grabbed a few of my more recent invoices from QuickBooks. And I guess I have a total of 40 inside my QuickBooks dashboard. And that's visible here. I'm connected to my sandbox instance, and I can see all these different invoices here. So this is very good. We can come back here if we need, but this is kind of a good place to start playing around with things. So I'm going to go into Build Kit, and I'm going to say exactly what I want to do from an action perspective in QuickBooks. So when you're prompting Bolt, you're describing how you build on top of your app, the functionality you want. Now, we're not doing that when we're in Build Kit. Build Kit's purpose is not, add functionality that when I click on a customer in my table, it's going to show the invoices there. Build Kit has no idea what you're building in Bolt yet. We just want to tell it, what am I trying to do with QuickBooks? So I'm going to say, list my QuickBooks invoices for a customer. This is then going to go and search through all the available actions in QuickBooks. It's going to figure out what I want to do, and it's going to give me and build a prompt that I can then take, paste into Bolt, and describe exactly what we're trying to extend our app with.
So we got a question in chat from Carlos here. We are certified QuickBooks Pro advisors, and we want to create a micro SaaS that allows us to connect and integrate our clients' QuickBooks with our product that monitors specific legal compliance. Possible?
If you want to connect to QuickBooks, 100% possible, 100%.
That's exactly it. Yeah,
That's
you
exactly
got it.
it.
Nail on the head.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great product. And we've got a question from
Yes.
Guy here around how do you move from sandbox to real QuickBooks data?
Yeah, so it does work with the like the production. Pika has the support for the production. You will have to apply for the OAuth applications in QuickBook because QuickBook have very specific guidelines on who they give that access to. But once you get accepted for your application, they will give you a client ID and client secret. You add them in Pika, and then you're production ready.
Yeah, so what we can do after this is we can share some links inside the videos where this will be posted that will have the documentation on how to set up a QuickBooks OAuth app. So if you recall from last week's live stream, the way you basically will toggle what's visible inside AuthKit here and how you manage what this is connected to is through the AuthKit page inside Pika. So if I search for QuickBooks, essentially what I've done is I've configured the app here to be connected to my QuickBooks OAuth application. So what that means is you have to go inside QuickBooks and you have to create an OAuth app. So you would add the branding for your project. You would add everything that ties it directly to you. So if I was connecting this integration here, or if I was, say I was connecting QuickBooks again, and it went into connect, since I'm logged in, it actually might just do it right away. Yeah, but if I wasn't logged in here, it would pop up saying Pika wants to connect to your QuickBooks account. That's because it's using Pika's OAuth app. So when you create an OAuth app, you get what's called a client ID and you get a client secret, and you would essentially paste both of those in here. So then when that AuthKit pops up, it'll say your app, whatever your app's name is trying to connect to QuickBooks. So I will go ahead and delete the one I just made it right there. There's no need for it. And we're going to go back to BuildKit. That last prompt we gave it, I'm going to go ahead, copy that, and head back into Bolt. So now what I'm going to say is I'm going to extend the functionality of my app, right? So here's where you would actually say what you're trying to do. In this case, it's going to be
Here's another idea, Carlos. I don't know if you've thought about this, but this is coming from myself as a QuickBooks user and customer. Bookkeeping, right? Manually categorizing transactions takes up a ton of time. Something that I was thinking about that I would love to see somebody build. And if you do build this, please tweet at me. I'll drop my Twitter in the chat in a second. Why not use AI to automatically categorize the transactions? I can't believe that this hasn't been implemented directly inside QuickBooks, but it'd be so trivial to build an app that has your GL account list, looks at all your transactions, and makes great guesses just using like a Claude API endpoint on how those should be categorized rather than just like the static manual QuickBooks rules. You could build like an add-in app that handles a lot of that bookkeeping for customers. If you create that, let me know, because I will be a customer of that app, to the point I was thinking about trying to build it myself, but I just haven't had the time. So I would love to see someone make that.
While we wait for Bolt to go and build this out, I think what we could do, and pardon the fact that I'm not a QuickBooks expert, we could go in here and create a customer, and let's try to create an invoice for that customer too, just so we can actually make sure that we know which invoices belong to who, rather than going and finding customers and checking what their invoices are.
Or you can do the same thing in the playground. Just
Mo, that's a fantastic idea. So this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Sometimes when you have to, okay, so this is a great example actually, because like I said, I'm not a QuickBooks expert, right? So instead of me going and figuring out either how their API works or reading through where to go to create a customer in this, I can go into the playground and just talk with this. So I'm going to say, I want to create a customer in QuickBooks. So I have no clue, what does QuickBooks even need in order to create a customer? Let's see. Okay, so here's everything that it needs in order to create one. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to create it for your name, Mo.
let's do it. While you're doing this, I see there's another question also saying, can we create a timesheet in QuickBooks with Pika? And the answer is yes, 100%. We support it. It's called time activity, I believe. And 100%, you could create a time like that can 100% be done. We support it. I just checked.
Very nice. So I did give it a bit of dummy data here. Okay, I guess that's fair.
Email already exists.
Email already exists. Is that what it's saying here? Let's see. So let's say, I'm just going to say for now, yeah, Mo
+1.
Okay. PCOS. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to just say, do not add an address, just in case it. Oh, Mo Khatib exists, so your name already exists, Mo. changing your name today.
Sweet.
So we're dealing with Mo Katibi.
Let's do it.
Now, that easily we were able to create something. I didn't even have to go and look at how QuickBooks, where customers are here. But just to prove this, I should be able to search, I would hope. Yeah. And we should now see that Mo Katibi was created. So
Amazing.
with the company name Pika and everything that we gave it there. So very cool. And in the meantime, we can see here that this ran and we see it also updated. So we have Mo's customer here. If I click on that, I now see that it went in. So it's failing to fetch invoices. Now, obviously, we know that this customer doesn't have invoices, but perhaps there's more going on here. And we can try to see what's happening. So we're having an error here, missing Pika credentials. Interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say, give it that exact error. Yep. Go ahead, Mo.
No, I think here what's happening is the with the instruction, it's using the hard-coded one. So I think you need to instruct it to use the auth-kit. And I think you should just briefly talk about that.
You think the edge function is using the connection
I think
key?
what happened, that's right. Yeah, because this is the part that can be a little confusing. So I think we should just double click on it a tiny bit.
Yeah, so I don't think that's what's happening, but we could chat a little about that here. So what Mo is saying is that when we're using BuildKit, if we look over here, BuildKit has defined that we want to give it a QuickBooks connection key, right? So this prompt is basically going to say, given the connection key for an integration, let's grab some data from it. Now, what we need to do that's different this time is we want to make sure that we're not grabbing the data of a specific connection, but we're grabbing the data that belongs to this integration. So the one that my Bolt user has connected. So Mo, I want to say here too that when I prompted this initially, I said, I want to list in table invoices that are associated with a customer when I click on that customer. Do this for QuickBooks. Here's how you list the invoices for a customer. And then I said, use the key for what's connected. Use the key for what's connected, how you're listing customers now. So I didn't write this very well, but
the reason why I say this is because if you look at the lower right corner, you see it's saying missing secret.
Yes, yeah, this is true. So let's reiterate this again.
Just noticed Sonnet 4.5 might be better if you use the.
You're saying using Opus instead?
Yeah, maybe Opus.
Yeah, we can definitely switch over to Opus. And yeah, so I didn't explain this very well, but we want to make sure our app is not using a specific QuickBooks connection key, but it's going to use the key that belongs to the user who's logged in and who has their QuickBooks connected. So
I'm just, while you're doing the prompt, I'm just gonna explain a little bit the difference here, what's actually happening. So when you connect an integration to Pika provide a key, a connection key. This connection key can be obtained from the dashboard. So if you're in the dashboard, you create a connection, you will have a connection key, and then that can be used inside the Bolt application to have access to that one integration. In this particular case, our application is actually generating these connection keys in the application itself. So when our user come in, they log into, they connect their QuickBook, Pika inside the Bolt application will now generate that key. We will store it inside the database. And now we want to use that key dynamically in the application so that we are showing, we are showing the data of the user. And that's essentially what's being, what Paul is explaining to the AI here.
Yeah, so I'm telling it, instead of using the QuickBooks connection key in a secret, so this is a good catch. Mo saw here that it's asking us to give a QuickBooks connection key, but we shouldn't have to do that. I want to use the connection key for what my user has connected in their app. you are listing connections that belong to my user. Make sure you do that when fetching invoices, just like we did when we're actually grabbing the customer data here. This customer data was obviously grabbed from what was connected. I never hard coded any connection key. So I'm going to say this here, and just a refresher that the connection key is what we see in the table here. Each single connection has a key, which is sort of a label on it. And in the case of what we're doing here, if somebody else were to log in and add their own QuickBooks connection, that key would be different. That key would be associated with that user who's logged in. This key here is associated with this Bolt user that's logged in. So it seems to have understood that. While it's going, I'm going to go ahead back into the playground. And I'm going to say, list my QuickBooks customers. Okay. Very nice. I'm going to try to create an invoice now for Mo. I don't know how exactly invoices work, so I'm going to go ahead and ask the playground, I want to create this. How can I do this? So it's giving me everything that's required to do that and everything that is optional. So let's go ahead and just say, I'm going to tell it to create something for me.
And of course, the playground also become very useful to understand the data structure, because on each execute, you're actually executing the proper data structure in the application that you're connected to.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah. So here it created an invoice for Mo Consulting Services. Mo, you owe me $275.50 USD for consulting
Katibi
services.
doesn't get a discount?
Oh, I guess, yeah, you could say this isn't you. So now we have Mo, which has an invoice in his account. And if we go back in here, we can see that this is finished up. Yeah, it looks like it's done. Let's go ahead, refresh this here, and let's click on Mo. And okay, we can see we've got one invoice that Mo has, and they just pulled it. It's for the $275.50. So again, to reiterate, this is not just a connection I made in my Pika dashboard, my personal account. This is, I'm pulling data from something that belongs to an account of a user of my Bolt app. Now here we are. How do we want to extend this? What would we like to do from here?
It's a great question. Well, I'm curious, do we have any operating expense transactions loaded into our QuickBooks? I would love to start thinking in the direction that I mentioned earlier of like, can we, go beyond, customer kind of CRM type capabilities, which nonetheless is pretty cool. I think I said this on our last call. At Bolt, our CRM currently does not have the capability built in to automatically invoice our customers. We actually manually go over to our accounting system and do that for our enterprise customers. So this alone is pretty neat for anybody that wants to build software that allows folks to invoice their customers straight from the tool. I can see a lot of usage for this. Personally, I am curious about the expense management side of things. I wonder if we could pump a few expense transactions into our QuickBooks instance and then start creating like a expense dashboard that would allow us to categorize, those expenses or even just view and report on them.
Yeah,
Sweet.
that's very interesting. So in this case, again, I don't know what QuickBooks has for this. So what am I going to do? I could continue in the playground here, which would also accomplish that, or I could even go directly into QuickBooks inside the browse integration section here. I could search for QuickBooks and I can see what do they have for expenses. So here, there's an action that allows me to query vendor expenses, expense reports. So
I would
I'm not
also
sure.
check, what do they have on just like transactions, perhaps?
So on transactions, they've got quite a bit. They have, you can query transactions, you can delete, you can read. It seems to be a lot around recurring transactions, so you can create one as well.
So here, okay, maybe this could be good. That query transaction list by vendor, that would be a good capability, right? Because we are kind of thinking about vendors and customers and invoicing and that kind of thing. So, yeah, maybe we can add on that capability where you can say, hey, I want to, check. I want to be able to check on all of our transactions with a particular vendor.
Yes, yeah. So let's head back into the playground. Let's talk about this here. So
Probably going to need to create a vendor first. I doubt we have any in the playground, and then add some transactions.
Yep. So let's start and list our vendors. See if we actually have any vendors already. Okay, so we've got a couple vendors here. Let's go ahead and, just for the sake of this, we can try to maybe create a new one, or we could work. Yeah, we'll just create a new one. Let's say create a vendor. Okay, so we've got our vendor for Bolt. Bolt is no longer an AI app building platform. It's Electric Solutions. And okay, so now within this, let's say we want to start creating some transactions. So I'm going to say create. Okay, interesting. So it tells us here a little more about how QuickBooks works. We can either create bills or we can create bill payments or vendor credits. So I'm thinking we are going to create bills, if I'm not mistaken.
I would just, out of an abundance of caution, I recommend asking here, what are the expense accounts that already exist? Because we will need to make sure that we map it to something that already exists. And if none exist, we can ask it to create a few. This is dipping into my actual area of expertise here with, I love how Paul, you're over there like, I don't know, I'm trying to program, and now we're doing all this finance stuff.
Well, I'm glad that we've got you here. So this is, you can teach a few things for the more program heavy people.
Yeah. Well, there we go. So it does have accounts created. So you can, theoretically, you could just tell Playground to create 10 expense transactions mapped to a random assortment of the accounts that it pulled in above.
Yes.
This should seed our QuickBooks with everything. This is so cool. This is such a great demo of the value of the playground, because it's pretty cool to just see like, hey, we're just trying to do some testing here, but we don't necessarily know how or want to go into QuickBooks and manually set up the testing environment. So having the playground, I'll tell you this, building an API integration from scratch, ain't going to fill your test account with transactions and vendors. Okay.
Yep.
So this is another good example of where having an integration platform is very helpful.
Yes. Yeah, you got it. And sometimes, the playground also does make mistakes, and it learns from those mistakes. And, you just tell it like, try again sometimes. And we should have ourselves seated with some data. I think it's hanging on this one. But before I tell it to continue, I'm going to look at vendors here. Seems like the playground is faster than QuickBooks.
Thanks for the shout out here. Love the organic nature, nothing overly scripted. Purely live.
What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Almost like nothing is scripted.
It's literally what you see is what you get.
Okay, so here inside vendors, I see a bunch of transactions. They're all tied to Bolt. And so these are a bunch of random bills that the playground created for us with random amounts. Very cool. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to, in the playground again, I'm going to say, list my bills inside the Bolt vendor.
Something just thinking ahead to when we go back into building our application, it might be helpful to have mapped out what the columns in this data are, so that we make sure we build UI that can actually display the richness of the data included in these transaction records.
Yes, yeah, that's a great idea. So what Alex is saying there is, when we make a request sometimes here, we're getting back the data. You can actually see it if you click on the execute action. You can see all the code. So this is exactly what QuickBooks is giving back when we're asking for this. Here we have AI that's sort of summarizing or giving us the important parts that it thinks. But this is the full shape of exactly what we get back. So, and we know the action here that it's calling is query a bill. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And this is just additional context you can give Bolt. You really can rely on BuildKit to do this for the most part. But when you do copy it from here, you're just giving Bolt even more information. And the more good information you give in your prompt to Bolt, the better your build is going to be on the less amount of prompts. So I'm going to head back in here. So that worked. We listed our invoices. Now I'm going to say, when we click on a customer, not only do I want to list their invoices, but I also want to list all the bills that apply there. So we're going to have two things that are listed there.
I think, Paul, we need to build the vendor page also, because these bills, they're associated with the vendor, not the customer. You
are absolutely right. So you guys can definitely see how this is not my area of expertise. So I'm going to go into Pika on a different tab here. I'm going to go into BuildKit. And I'm going to say list vendors in QuickBooks. So this is the action that I want to now bring into Bolt. BuildKit is going to give me everything I need so I can actually list the vendors I have. And we're going to add that on the top level of our app as well.
Do you need to tell BuildKit specifically about, well, after I list the vendors, I'm going to then want to query them for transactions, or does that add on organically because you've connected the vendor object? This is, I guess, more of a Pika question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I could actually prompt BuildKit right now to list all my vendors and give me the associated bills for that user, and send an email in Gmail. I could say all of that, but we don't actually recommend doing that. We find that it's best to go one action at a time, sort of the same way when you're building in AI. You don't want to prompt your entire app in one go. You want to step things. In the same way, we like to think, use BuildKit, one prompt for one action, and take it one action at a time.
That makes sense. Yeah. First, figure out who the vendors are, get that
Mhm.
capability, then add any interactions you want to have with the object.
Exactly.
Especially that, like in many cases, when you're asking BuildKit about something, we usually aim for completeness. So you're going to get a very rich data structure. And if you're asking for more than one object, sometimes one object alone could be quite massive. So if you have 2 or 3, then the prompt itself becomes significantly large when we're providing it to Bolt.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I'm basically telling it, I want you to list QuickBooks vendors for the app that's been connected in my app. For the connection that's been connected, do this on the home page in a table, and you can fetch vendors like this, and then I'm going to paste what it got from BuildKit. And while that's going, so I remember the next part is querying a bill. So we want to be able to grab all of the bills that are associated with the vendor. And we're going to handle this similarly to how we did invoices associated to a customer. In that table that lists all our vendors, when you click on a vendor, we're going to go into another page and we're going to list all of the associated bills for that vendor. So I'm going to go into BuildKit. I'm going to start a fresh prompt. And I'm going to say query bills in QuickBooks for a vendor. And we'll let that run as well.
You guys will end up teaching us to build a whole SaaS company via vibe coding, and that's the idea. That's the idea.
That's the goal.
Keep attending these. And yes, speaking of which, we have more of these coming up, these being live streams. They are here on our Luma page. Live stream schedule. Let me throw this in the chat here. We have one for next week and one for the following week, both on Wednesday at 12 Pacific. Next week is about Airtable. So if you have a use case and you're like wrestling with Airtable and you need help or want to see us do something, let us know. We will do it live. And then the following week is Slack. We'll be talking about how to integrate Slack into your Bolt apps. So there's that link.
Yeah.
Here's a great question from JobSnap. So I came across this exact thing with an app that I was building a month or so ago. It's extremely easy to do this. So basically, because Bolt has Bolt Cloud built in, you've got a database, right? And so when you're thinking about integrations and API calls, you're reaching out like in real time and saying, hey, QuickBooks, please deliver the results I'm looking for into my browser tab right now. But what you can do is, and here's exactly how I would prompt this. Basically, I would say, okay, Bolt, now that we have the integration set up, I want you to cache the results of each request we receive or each request we send to QuickBooks in the database in a table called transactions. And in my application, show the cached transactions from the database up upon page load, and then add like a button or a refresh icon to the table that the user can click to like pull down latest transactions. And that way you can, quicker performance, right? Because the data that you need is already cached and stored right inside of your Bolt app. And 2, you just give the user control over how often they want to be refreshing the data, which in certain cases, especially with Fintech, you may actually want to know like, hey, the last refresh was this date and maybe you refreshed on like the last day of the quarter or what have you. And that's, you actually don't want any new transactions as you do your tasks or your analysis. So that's how I'd go about that. And that's actually like, you know, for these demos, we're not really building out like the back end stuff right now too complicated of a way, but that's actually like probably a recommended pattern. At the bare minimum, you would want to say like cache the data, and you could say refresh it you know, every page reload, or you know, every new user session. Maybe you could have it like automatically refresh when the user logs in, but like if they just, yeah, you'd probably want to, you might want to do it like on a session basis. Probably not page reload, because imagine that I'm there reloading the page. That doesn't mean I want you to query the data over and over if you just pulled it in, you know, and the transactions I need are already there. So that's a good thought. And that's how I'd go about that.
So, great answer to that. Yeah. So here in our app, we see we have our customers' data here. It also created another table with all of our vendors. And here's the Bolt vendor, and we can see the balance. So this is probably a sum of all those bills, I would assume. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to extend it similarly to our customers. So we have the prompt that we asked BuildKit, which said, you know, query bills in QuickBooks for a given vendor. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to tell Bolt exactly what we want to do here. So
And you heard it first here, but I'm gonna make kind of like a surprise drop. But we are enhancing this whole chat interface into a single point of chat, where you'll have the build kit and the playground all together. And at that stage, you will be able to describe literally everything, because behind the scene, there's an actual agent that's working that will dissect the things and like give you exactly what you need, and it'll be significantly easier to use.
That's super cool. Yeah, I think that'll that makes a lot of sense. I hadn't really thought to ask about that, but like the kind of build kit and then the playground being separate. And yeah, if it just understands your intent and can take care of it all for you, break your request up into the appropriate chunks, like that'd definitely be a improved experience.
And I just want to point out here that like Paul is mentioning here to use the connection, the dynamic connection that is created.
yes, so I'm saying just like when I click on a customer, it goes into a page for that customer's invoices. I want the functionality that when I click on a vendor, it will go into a page with all the bills. So it should
to show how like non-scripted this is. I think, Paul, we should add a toggle, like using authkit, and if you're using authkit, it should automatically add that into the prompt itself.
I'm not following. What do you mean? Like
inside BuildKit, I think we should have like a little toggle, like using.
Oh
authkit.
yeah. Yes. Yeah.
If you're using authkit, then it automatically do that for you. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Are we helping you develop Pika, or are we building a
It seems so. It seems so. It can't get more real than this.
So the other thing I'm going to do, I've pasted in what BuildKit gave us, but to I don't know if it was Alex or Mo who had mentioned it earlier, but why don't we paste in this shape of exactly what we got here too? So this is a sample with some of the data for querying the bills for that vendor. So I'm also going to paste this from the playground into my Bolt app. So it's just giving it additional context, so it doesn't have to, it has more information to work with.
Also, look at that. You didn't notice this probably, but when you pasted that text in, see how it made the little, the pasted things? So that was a big pet peeve of mine, that we were not doing that before. And so I got to give a shout out where it's due. Now I'm like, I'm pretty sure the shout out for that one goes to Kevin McGivern on our side, that added that nice little quality of life improvement. So super awesome. I know it's a small thing, but I just hate when you paste a bunch of code and it's like, and now you can't read your chat and it scrolls the page way down. So yeah.
I did notice that. That is a good touch. Yeah, it's far cleaner.
It's these subtleties that makes the product really cool.
Mm-hmm.
We have about 10 minutes left in the scheduled live stream. I did want to, while this is running, we do have some special codes for both Bolt and Pika. I'm going to pop them on the screen right now. Finance-50 for 50% off of Bolt Pro 25 or 50 and Pika Starter or Pro plan. Finance 50% off.
And it's available for, I believe, the next 24 hours.
I'll pop that on the screen to the last few minutes. Also, we have some giveaways. You could win a gift card to Newfie if you tag bolt.new or Pika on X. Tell us what you're building. Share with us what you want to see, what integrations. Just give us a little tag, and you can be entered into a gift card. We have a question here. Hi, Bolt team. I know you're not currently covering this in your live streams, but would you consider doing one on how to change a Bolt project's default URL to your own custom domain? I believe we have a resource on this. I believe this is on our YouTube channel. If it doesn't, we will definitely make one.
Okay, so in here, if I click on a vendor, so I clicked on Bolt, I can see here all the bills that are tied to that vendor. The table could use a little more love extending it here, but this is really cool. We just pulled all that data, and we could do that if we clicked on any vendor. So you can see the total bills and the total amount as well tied to that.
Very cool. Awesome. I think that's probably a good place to leave part 2. I mean, just to recap, we went from no app to an app that's integrated with QuickBooks, that can issue invoices, that can pull in what you owe your vendors and all the data associated. And from here, I mean, it's, you know, you now in 1.5 live streams, we built, and we could have done it in one, but you know, we're just so unscripted. So we we had to make it 1.5, but we built a Fintech SaaS app that you could deploy to your users, that they could integrate with their QuickBooks. And it's, I hope, very clear how you could add on top of this, right? You could add AI capabilities into the app that could go in and categorize transactions and run reports on, you know, where you were overdue and who you owed the most money to, who owed you the most money, etc. And you could just create an entire financial management application that layers on top of, in this case, QuickBooks. But you know, if you're a SaaS company, one of the great things is if you can allow your customers to integrate with anything that they want, kind of like we're helping you understand with Bolt here. So you could go out and let them do this with Xero and with any other financial software that you want to integrate with for your app. So really cool to see the build process here, the thinking behind it, etc. And I think this provides a good layout for how to get started building complex financial apps with integrations. Really curious to see if any of the folks here in the chat build something cool, especially if you build that QuickBooks categorize your transactions by AI thing, so I can sign up as a customer. So definitely post on Twitter, tag Bolt. You can tag me. You can tag the Pika team. And we'd love to see what kind of stuff you're building in this space.
Yes,
Sweet.
absolutely. I'm going to pop this code on here one more time. Finance 50 for Pika and Bolt. Like I said, this recording will be, or this video will be recorded, added to our YouTube channel. Looks like there's someone asking a question about Gmail. We did have a tutorial on Gmail, again on our YouTube page, adding the link here. So definitely go check out our YouTube page for some other tutorials. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Like I said, we will be here, same channel next Wednesday, talking about Airtable. Let us know, tag us on Twitter, and have a wonderful rest of your week. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Later.
Bye-bye.